You can't read that, but it says 9:49 p.m. on the 1st of August. Whatever. Yeah, and I don't know, around a few minutes ago, there was a cry downstairs in around level 2, the one to the right, when you're facing the downstairs corridor with the courtyard. And then, you know, about 30 seconds later I heard a thunk, and, you know, of course, you know, I'm thinking, oh, maybe that person downstairs is copycatting what happened, you know, next door here. That person who had cried out might have been taken down with and hit to the skull. Again, I'm guessing that it would have been near the middle of the head, or the middle and to the right of the cranium, frontal cranium, with one hit of an axe. I think it's to try and get off spirits, to get a person in unconsciousness. I don't know, but you know, that's sort of what I'm hearing. And you know, no more cries out, you know, no screams or anything. Obviously, you know, it's a little bit worrying because I'm sitting here in something which is only separated from the other rooms with some plaster. There's no grates, no bulletproof grates on the doors outside, and even that door had to be securitized with the deadlock up the front. It didn't have that there when I moved in, and I had to put it in because people were breaking in and stealing my money. And they also broke in when I was here, and I confronted them when they left to go back downstairs. And so it was an inner thing, but the cops didn't find any fingerprints, so they couldn't do much about it. So I'm kind of really worrying about this this axe blows, you know. I keep thinking some people have been abducted, you know, people are just playing around with people, making them unconscious, killing them, reviving them, killing them again, you know, and playing around with a body that should have perhaps died already. But, you know, I'm sure that the person who had cried out is probably an unconscious being when they're not high on a drug or something, or it's some sort of spiritual tinkering that sort of makes it a person able to sort of be killed or bring damage in any ways, and then revive and you know, have something else done with them. You know, it's supposed to be already kind of dead bodies, but you know, I really don't like sitting in the middle of all this activity. I've been looking up internet, and in Queensland I found a very nice apartment for only like 80 grand. But you know, it's so hot here. It's going to be a blistering 60 degrees in Queensland this summer. But if I could securely buy something in Queensland and have it safer than here, I would buy that 80 grand flat now, move in tomorrow and say, hey, work, I can't go in today, can I have a speedy week off? I'm desperate to move. So if I did that, and sort of got my butt out of the city, which seems, you know, admittedly not the whole city is likely to be a whole serial killer zone, but just being close to it, so close to it, thinking that my family member or a past member of our family may have been involved, and thinking that our family's been abducted by foreign parents, you know, just that, all that mingling together, makes you want to run away and think, or maybe and sort of just disappear, I guess, you know. So that's kind of what I want to do, but I don't have a car, I don't have a driver's license, I can't drive. I was going to wait till the end of the year to try and buy myself an apartment or house, not sure where I was going to go, but anyways, I was going to get myself at least a 200 grand apartment. But now that, I'm having all these issues with money, I've lent out my money too far, and I'm really struggling just saving up a couple of thousand, let alone 7,000 that I need. So I won't be able to get too much more than 150 grand apartment by the end of the year. I might be able to make it to 200, but nothing much further than that. So saying that, I'm looking cheap. I want cheap apartments, 80 grand, 60 grand. They are there. I know that they are. But it's just a matter of me choosing, and with me feeling so insecure about Melbourne, I'm thinking maybe I should live interstate. Maybe I should just buy this apartment by the ocean and pretend that they're not going to be threatened by any kind of hurricane in the future, and hopefully the neighbours are nice and keep those to themselves. There's no issue with thugs, or anything. I've never been in Brisbane and not feel as though there are no thugs around. I haven't really met any, and I never went out at night. I never needed to. So, but you always think that Brisbane is crawling with thugs, whereas here in Melbourne, I mean, there are thugs everywhere, serial killers. That's what I'm meeting now. An apartment with, with people who seem like serial killers, and they play with little bodies, play with baby bodies, blow them up, play with dead bodies. I think it's a hot spot for all that. And before I moved in here, I was like, my sixth sense was telling me that this is an area where, in this particular room, my sixth sense was saying Kirsty Turlington, who was a model trying to make a break in Melbourne, she died here, and then her body was taken and done whatever with, revived or whatever. And that was sort of a little story that I made in my head. I thought that was a quirky story, and I didn't really care about it, so I just moved in here, and it's like, yeah, as if, there's been a dead body in here. But meeting all this skepticism about how safe it is, because I'm hearing little thunks, like this afternoon, a big whacking thunk. It sounded wet and like it hit a skull, and then a very heavy drop on the floor. I heard a drop on the floor immediately after. I was like, wow, someone might have just gotten their consciousness axed out with an axe. And people just chewing gums, walk out of the building, do whatever. Now I think the same thing's happening downstairs. And the thing with the one downstairs is I think that it's my past father, who's been captured by this abductor. People who are pretty safe at being abductors, and even serial killers. They just do it in the house. I've smelled strange smells that seem like something's burning, like hair is burning, like being cooked. Something with hair is being cooked, and I'm thinking, oh, they might have human meat down there. I don't know what they're cooking or anything. It could be just normal steak with a little bit of something extra, a little bit of foreign entity on it. Something that. But I was kind of, worried because it had that sort of smell that was, billowing out of our last apartments and stuff. So I'm not definitely gonna cry out, oh, my father's downstairs being killed, slowly being killed and revived. Every time I hear a vocal tone that sounds like his, I'm thinking, oh, that's him, he's being killed, he's dying, no cops will come and check it out, etc., So, I am sort of worried about it, but but I'm also worried about my insecurity, so that's the reason for it, is worry about moving. But yeah, I definitely had it, and a second thing, and I'm using my sixth sense, and it's telling me that person who may have been my father, who's been abducted and is living in captivity downstairs, who is probably a dead unconscious being dead and revived. He had a plate in his mouth with little teeth, 2 fang teeth, which he had pulled out in St. Kilda. I'm wondering if that's him. We had the plate brought back by another guy who looked like my dad, and said that he was my dad, but he doesn't quite seem like my dad. And I was sitting in our lounge room back in the city apartment, and I left that home thinking that's not my dad, and etc. So, I'm kind of thinking all these thoughts, worried about my safety, and worried about the activities that go on, like surely these activities go on other places, but sometimes you don't feel as close, you don't feel like you need to worry, and I like that feeling. I like feeling as though if my door is locked, I don't need to worry, but they do happen, and instead of just, I don't know, thinking about running riot, want to disappear from my family, disappear from everyone, and yeah, it'd be good to be able to disappear.